In today's video, I'll be working on 3 recipes from the Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks from the 60s and trying out some new to me recipes that are easy and doable on weeknights. These are the kinds of meals that my mom made growing up, and so it's very nostalgic for me. My mom to this day still has her recipe card holder, and she still has the recipes that we made growing up. And so I couldn't help but pick this one up when I was thrifting quite a while ago, and I've been collecting recipes that I like and putting it in there. While I make today's dish, I'm prepping this chicken for tomorrow's meal because it'll save me time and I'm using the oven anyways. So I'm just putting some olive oil, salt and pepper, and we're just gonna put some foil over this and put this in the oven for about an hour. For tonight's dinner, I'll be working on a recipe for lazy day lasagna. And this is the easiest lasagna that I have ever made in my life. My mom loves making lasagna. It's one of her classics, but she usually does a long simmering sauce to go with her lasagna, and it's quite extensive work. This one comes out beautifully, and it's so quick. I've updated this recipe by using oven-ready lasagna noodles because it just makes it so much quicker than boiling noodles. And these noodles are ready to go. You just need to cover them with the sauce completely and they will cook in the oven. So I'm starting out by putting some bolognese sauce in the bottom of this dish. I'm using 2 jars of bolognese sauce from the grocery store. And I'm adding a little bit of extra water because this sauce was very thick and I need it to be able to absorb into those noodles. So I just want it a little bit saucier. Then we'll be layering the noodles and then adding cottage cheese, a layer of that. I used 1 tall container of cottage cheese. And then we'll be putting mozzarella over that, and then sauce over that, and then another layer of noodles. This just came together so quickly because my mom usually makes a filling with cottage cheese, eggs, spinach, and other things. So just using the cottage cheese was actually very quick, and the cheese really holds everything together. And you can see here I added a little bit of water to the jar to really make sure that that sauce was saucy enough for the noodles to absorb some liquid. Then we're going to repeat those layers, ending with another layer of noodles, sauce, and cheese on top. I bought 1 package of lasagna noodles that are ready to go, 1 tall container of cottage cheese. I used mostly just 1 bag of mozzarella, but I bought 2, and 2 jars of bolognese sauce. And the bolognese sauce is a meat sauce, so if you can find a pasta sauce that has meat in it, that's what you want. So I'm just topping this off with the last layer of noodles. I'm going to add a little bit more water to the sauce. This was a very thick sauce. This is, I believe, Classico. And I can find this brand of sauce everywhere here, but I'm not sure about where you live. So just look for a meaty sauce. And if your sauce spreads nicely, then you don't really need to add the water. This was just a pasty sauce. I'll be topping this with the remainder of my cheese. And then I decided to put some foil on top to bake it in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. And before I took it out, I ended up putting more cheese on it because my husband likes a cheesy lasagna. This is something his mom made growing up as well. And so he just loves lasagna. It's one of his favorite things, and I don't make it very often. I'll be using my time wisely by cooking the chicken for tomorrow's dinner at the same time. This is why it can be so important to plan your meals ahead, because it can really save you time if you know what you're making. I'm taking it out about 10 minutes ahead of time, and I'm sprinkling the top with some parsley. And this really makes a huge difference for the finished look of your lasagna, especially because I didn't have any spinach in the cottage cheese filling. And then I'm just topping it with a little bit more cheese because I had finished the other bag and I didn't want any cheese to stick to that foil. So I'm just putting a little more, and I'm going to put it on broil. Getting that top nice and golden brown just adds a really finished look to your lasagna. And my family was so happy that I made this. They absolutely loved it. And I just made a very quick salad with a balsamic vinaigrette, homemade, and just some lettuce tossed to go on the side with this lasagna. The longer you let your lasagna sit before cutting, the better it's going to hold for you. But I cut it pretty quickly because everyone was quite hungry. So it's still held together quite well, but later on, the slices really held together. So I would recommend waiting 10 to 15 minutes before cutting and serving. All of these recipes will be in the description box below, and I can't wait for you to give this one a try because it is guest worthy in my opinion, and your family is going to love it. They'll never know that it was such an easy recipe. The next day was a very busy day for me, and I had appointments leading all the way up until dinner. So I was really happy that I pre-cooked this chicken. I'm just cubing it up and getting things ready. I'm actually midday right now because I knew that I had an appointment right before dinner, so I wanted to prep things ahead of time. And that's a really good thing to do if you know you're going to be busy. Just cut things up and get it ready. Tonight's dinner is a creamy curried chicken dish over rice. I've made this one a few times before, and I really love this recipe, so I had to include it. The lemon juice will prevent the apple from turning brown, and it really did work. I'm back from my appointment, and we're leaning into supper time. And the daylight hours are really starting to shorten now. So candles are the perfect thing this time of year. And I am lighting a candle from my favorite company, TAPPEN Apothecary. They're a local to me company. And this candle is tomato leaves scent, and it really does smell like tomato leaves, which, if you're a gardener, you can appreciate that. It makes me so happy to support a local company. So you can find a link to their website in my description below. Go check out all of their candle scents, and they have wonderful scents to choose from this time of year. I'm cooking my rice and I didn't measure it. I have this trick that I learned, which is as long as your rice is covered by an inch of water, you're good to go. So I just dump the rice in there, the amount I think I need, and I make sure it's covered, and then I get it to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer and let it cook for about 20 minutes. You can see that my apples did not brown, which is awesome. So in 2 tablespoons of butter, we're going to be adding the chopped onion, apple, and 1 clove of minced garlic. But I bought pre-chopped garlic and I'm adding about a teaspoon. In this bowl, I have 2 tablespoons of flour, 3 teaspoons of curry powder, and a teaspoon of salt. I'm just mixing that up, and I'll be adding that to this mixture. We're going to let that cook for a couple of minutes, and then we're making this into a cream sauce by adding about 2 cups of milk. I'm not measuring, I just guesstimate. And so we're making a cream sauce basically with the curry as the flavoring, and this is just so delicious. I'm also adding the cubed chicken, and this just came together so quickly because I already had things ready to go. I added about a pinch of my own preserved cayenne flakes, which are very spicy, so I don't want to add too much. And this recipe is just such a quick one. If I had it, I would probably add a slice of lime and a little bit of cilantro on top, but I didn't have that today, so we're just adding a little bit of coconut on top, as the recipe states. And I whipped up another quick side salad using the remainder of my dressing from yesterday. This is just such a quick dinner to whip together if you already have some cooked chicken, and I highly recommend this one. A thoroughly enjoyable meal for a busy weeknight. We're on to our last dinner, and this was another busy weeknight. And this recipe is for a tuna noodle casserole. And quite honestly, I never really liked tuna casseroles growing up. My mom made them, but I was really intrigued by this recipe because it had some really interesting ingredients. So I really wanted to give it a try and see what my family thought. And I had some time earlier on, so I did the same thing as yesterday and I prepped and chopped my ingredients ahead of time. Cats always get excited when they hear a can opener. So this tuna noodle casserole includes, it's supposed to be a can of cream of celery soup, but I couldn't find that, so I just used cream of chicken. We're going to be boiling up some medium egg noodles, and I'm preparing my pan. I recently found these enameled sort of roasting pans at Walmart, a set of 2 for around $22. And then my sauce I'm making with a can of cream of chicken soup and half of that can of milk. And then we're going to be adding about a cup of shredded cheddar. I tasted this sauce after it was cooked and it was delicious. I would consider using this as a chip dip. It was so good. And it was kind of the consistency of a queso. So that's exciting. We're going to cook up these noodles according to the package directions. Mine stated to cook for about 5 minutes, so I set my timer. Having all of my ingredients chopped already means that this recipe is going to come together very quickly. And I did this a little bit early in the day because we've really been enjoying having longer evenings, and the earlier you can have dinner, the longer the evening seems. So this was a busy day, but I was really glad to have all of those ingredients prepped and ready to go. To the noodles, we're going to add a half a cup of mayonnaise, about a third of a cup of chopped onion, 1 cup of chopped celery, a quarter of a cup of chopped pimento. Now, I ended up using these roasted red peppers I found in a jar instead. And then about a quarter of a cup of diced green pepper, which I happen to have frozen from last year's crop. And then 1 can of tuna. Now, the one thing that my kids mentioned with this casserole is they would have added a 2nd can of tuna because it wasn't very pronounced in the tuna flavor. However, I prefer that because I'm not a huge tuna fan. I also added a teaspoon of salt, and then we're going to give this a good stir before adding our cheesy sauce. I really loved all of the different vegetable combinations for this recipe, and you can always tweak it and make it your own. And then we're going to add this cheesy sauce, which was really exciting. This really held the whole thing together because of the cheese. And like I said, that sauce just tasted so good. So I just knew this casserole would be exceptional. We're going to give this mixture a really good stir, and then we're going to put it into our buttered casserole dish and then top it with some toasted sliced almonds. which I also thought was a really nice touch. Now, I added a little bit of black pepper to these noodles just because I felt it needed it. And I really liked that touch of the toasted almonds on top. Now, you could top it with more grated cheese and maybe some green onions. I think that would also be good, but the toasted almonds added a nice crunch. Casseroles just seem so nostalgic of my childhood, and I really want to try more of them. So we're going to be baking this at 425 degrees for about 20 minutes, uncovered. One of the things that I love about these older recipes is they include things like canned soups, and they really are just so much more simple than the recipes that you see nowadays. And for me, they just remind me of my childhood so much, and I absolutely love them. So I'm going to be looking for more recipes to try. As a side, I'm steaming some carrots and I'm adding some frozen peas to that. And that's just going to make a very simple side dish to go with this casserole. This casserole did not disappoint. I think it was delicious. And I definitely think that it's one of those recipes that you could tweak and make your own. And I think I will definitely make this recipe again. Despite the fact that I never liked tuna casserole, I loved this one. You want to let it sit for a few minutes after it comes out. And then this really sliced very nicely. And my whole family loved this recipe. If you're new to my channel and you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I make videos every week on homemaking, and I love to include nostalgic recipes, so stay tuned for more. I'll see you next Wednesday.